The show you're about to hear is a recording from Dr. Miller's webinar series titled Life Meditations. He began this series in response to the pandemic, and his goal has been to provide wisdom, practical tools, and comfort to people during these stressful times. Watch the entire series at drmiller.com/lifemeditations. That's drmiller.com/lifemeditations.
This pandemic and the lockdown with its enforced isolation is really causing us to look at our relationships, because some of us are ending up being locked away with someone we may not have spent very much time with for a long time. And our relationships, sometimes we sort of bounce off of each other, a few times a week maybe, but now it's a little bit different. So for some people, there's the stress of being together. For some, there's a loneliness because they're locked down with no one. For others, there's a level of irritability, feelings of lack of privacy. And for many of us, we're missing the warmth and touch of our friends and other people that we're accustomed to being with and touching both physically and spiritually from time to time. And so different people have different experiences. And for some, it's really a wonderful opportunity to deepen their relationship with a family member or someone that they're close to. And so I'd like to explore those ideas with you here today. On the positive side, with the world effectively on pause, that right now is really a unique opportunity to listen to those who are close to you and to those that you wish were closer to you. And all crises have a tendency to shine a really bright light on the quality and depth of one's relationships. Following major hurricanes, electrical outages, terrorist attacks like 9/11, there's an uptick in divorces and breakups, as well as an uptick in marriages and pregnancies. And demographers are already predicting a wave of COVID divorces and corona babies, as the pandemic has that potential to bring us together and to drive us apart. But relationships are important for everyone. I didn't grow up with very good relationships. I moved around a lot, and I was living in the inner city of New York, and went to a school where everybody was white and lived in a place in the city where everybody was black, one did not take friends from one area into the other. That with attending many different schools and so forth. But for my whole life, I always wished I had a best friend. And the stories I read about best friends, my fantasy of what it was to have a best friend. But and I had friends that came and went, but they were more maybe like closer acquaintances. Really, until I was really well into my adulthood before I began to really figure out what was going on with friendships, and that what was important was relationships. Now, of course, when I found myself, and since the 70s, my specialty has really been working with people and helping them deal with whatever issues are going on in their lives. And especially, of course, what I would find out is that relationships would often turn out to be a very important issue. Studies have been done. They're quite amazing, showing that the quality of one's relationships will predict whether or not you'll get sick. It'll even predict whether or not you'll catch the flu when it comes around. And if you've looked at my homepage and you see there's a bunch of free imagery I've been giving away to help people resist the virus. And that's based upon the fact that if you are at peace inside, you have a better chance of being able to ward off infection with the virus. Or maybe you get the infection, but you end up being an asymptomatic person, which may be, maybe that's the best deal of all, because then you'll have your immunity without ever having gotten sick. And then you'll just have to protect other people from you, at least while you're ill. But if you are at peace within, then your immune system works better. They did studies on college students down at UCLA, and those that had rich and rewarding relationships had a much lower incidence of flu when flu season came along. Those people who had troubled relationships tended to be infected much more with just a normal flu virus. And why is that? To me, two things come to mind. And one is that the human being, we're kind of pathetic animals. We can't run into a hole in the ground. We can't fly away. We don't have sharp teeth. We can't run. Just about every animal you can think of can run faster than a human being, a dog, a goat, a monkey. We can't climb trees. How do we survive in this environment? Individually, how do we learn all the incredibly complex things there are to know about life? What to eat, how to move, how to protect ourselves, how to find food, how to build a house, what thunder means, and so forth. So we could only survive if we had families. And so it was really the existence of our family, the family structure where we care about each other, we love each other. And I think you can see that so clearly in the love of a mother for her child, or two parents for a child if you've got two healthy parents. And that really is, for me, the notion of what love is that quality of oneness that the mother and child feel together, that a family feels together, the way brothers and sisters are there to support each other. And soon next door are the cousins and the aunts and the uncles. And so you've got this group of people, all of whom care about each other, and it's built into us to want to care and to want to share and to want to be part of in that setting. Otherwise, we could not possibly have survived in Africa, much less moving up to Greenland or northern Russia or Tibet. So, and that this loving group of people can carry messages from one generation to another, so you don't have to relearn the entire world. But it seems to me that through time, as groups got bigger and bigger, we began to lose that cohesion. If you think of a small town in early America, everybody knew each other. You all went to the same church. You all believed the same things. You went to the same school. You met and started to date someone in that school, and you saw the world in the same way. And then you knew the other people, and then you raised your kids together. But in this world that we live in now, you don't know the people who live next door, and they have different cultural values and different styles of living. So something's fallen apart for us, and I think the worst of it all took place because of industrialization, where we didn't treat human beings as human beings. A workman wasn't a wonderful workman who did splendid work, who cared about what they were doing, that their reputation rode upon the quality of what they did. But now your job was to turn one particular screw in the same wheel on the assembly line, or hack it. Maybe you're the person who hacked the wings off the chicken and then hacked the wings off the next chicken, or hacked the wings off the next chicken, or whatever it was. And so now, and they used to call it the department, the personnel department, and they changed it now to human resources. So now you have, raw material resources, and you have power resources and human resources. So you're not a person anymore. You're just a resource. And when you go to, when Henry Ford had his factories, and he'd have someone, and this guy, all he did was turn this screw. So eventually he'd get repetitive motion injury. So you'd fire him, and you'd go out in the parking lot where, in those days, back in the Depression, there'd be 70 or 80 people waiting in the parking lot. And he'd say, I need somebody with a strong right arm. And they'd find the guy with the biggest and strongest right arm. And he would turn the screw. So you weren't hiring a person, you were hiring a right arm. The same thing with our schools, where the schools are not there to educate us, where education means to educare, which means to lead forth from, to find that which is within the person and nurture it so it comes forth. Instead, schools are set up to take care of the kids so the mothers can and the fathers can go work on the assembly line. And the idea with the kids is to train them to be in order and to hang their coat on the hook with the right number, and to sit in the chair they'd been assigned to. That happened to be a sore point for me. I could not see why. In the kindergarten, I had to hang my coat on hook number 7. I wanted to hang it on number 10. And what kindergartners can be when they feel like they have the right to do something. Anyway, we learn to be regimented, and we are prepared to go out and work on the assembly line. And we don't learn really about relationships. We don't learn values. We don't learn ethics. That's supposed to be taught in the churches or by these loving parents who are waiting at home for the kid to come home to give them moral guidance. That's not the world we live in today. People have 2-3 jobs. So we're losing, to a very great extent, our sense of what relationship is all about. And that's what I find. And it's the failure of relationship that leads to so many other problems. Well, that'll lead to alcoholism. It'll lead to all kinds of addictions. It leads to depression, leads to anxiety. There's frustration, there's anger. All of those things that then go on to create other problems in our lives very often become simply because we didn't have that sense of pure love from mother and father. The child should have that love. Then the child should be treated like they're the center of the universe. Every mother knows that's how it feels, right? They should be treated that way. And you should feel like a most wonderful person, and gratitude for being alive. And there's these beautiful people who are taken care of, and gradually you learn to love them, and you live in this cloud of loving oneness, and you don't have alcoholism, and you don't have people screaming and fighting, and you don't get to turn on your cell phone and watch the internet and turn to the latest bondage pornographic video, or to see the latest school shooting in full color and so forth, where you're bombarded with so much violence. We're bombarded with so many commercials, so many advertising messages, all of whom say the same thing. You're not enough. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not slim enough. You're not strong enough. And your clothes look terrible. And the car that you're driving, my God, and what medication are you taking? Oh, maybe you've had mesothelioma, and we got the lawyer for you. So constantly, the underlying message is that you're not good enough as you are. And it is when we're in love, and when we feel loved, then we feel whole and we feel complete. But then we're not very vulnerable to advertising messages. So it doesn't serve the world for us to be happy and whole and in love and willing to express who we are. And yet, that's what we're here to do. And it's only if we're doing that that we can really feel happy. we've got this big brain. We're so creative. Why? It's not so that we can build rocket ships and computers, although clearly those things can come in useful. But we have this because we relate with others. And if you look at animals or look at the mammals, the size of the brain echoes the size of the community that the animal lives in, because you create relationship with each of the other individuals in your life, but you also know that each of those has a relationship with other individuals, and you have to keep track of those things. So as we get up into the primates and to the higher primates, they need bigger and bigger brains. But now we come along with this giant brain. Well, of course, we're designed to be able to function where we have, first name basis relationships with 100 people or 200 people. And so our brain is really here to help us, to enable us to have relationships. So we may be using our brain for a lot of things, and there are many good things you can use your brain for, but this is one of the most important that I think we all need to be able to use our brain for. So let me say one other thing, and those of you who've read my book, Our Culture on the Couch, that I wrote back in the early 90s following the 9/11 attacks, where I opined, and the book was called Our Culture on the Couch, because we underwent a cultural trauma, and from sitting and watching those planes fly into those buildings, plus all of the stuff that was on the media constantly, was very traumatic to our culture. And something changed at that time. And I believe that we had PTSD, and we've been suffering from PTSD ever since that time. And one of the things that we need to do is to be able to heal that PTSD. And one of the things that PTSD does is it causes us to be anxious about the world. Now, the human brain has a built-in negative bias. And that is, if you see something you're not sure about, you should suspect it. That is to say, let's say it's late in the evening and it's kind of dark, you can't see, and you look on the ground and there's something coiled up there, and by George, that may be the rope that I was looking for last week, or it might be a snake. You might as well assume that it's a mistake and poke it with a stick before you pick it up, because if you're wrong, you don't get another chance. So the brain is designed to tend to see things negatively. And in a world, again, where the media, the politicians, the advertisers, everyone's out there to make us feel anxious, because if I can make you feel scared, I can make you vote for my candidate. I can make you buy my underarm deodorant, because people say, oh, look at you. You're not going to smell as good as Shaquille O'Neal unless you use this. One of my favorite commercials. So the way we end up thinking then, because of the PTSD, we tend to expect negative things to happen. And we tend to get in arguments with people. We're not as close with other people. We're suspicious. Just look at the foolishness around the current pandemic, right? We could have come through this like so many of the other countries did. And okay, 200, 300, maybe 500 people would die until we figured it out. If we had done the right things, what every epidemiologist knows that we should do, but we don't trust our doctors. I mean, why is it that every horror movie begins with the culture not trusting what the scientists are telling them? and so was this one. And so we don't trust. And so what are we looking at now? 150,000 people, triple the number of people who died in Vietnam on our side, are going to die just because we couldn't trust. We can't trust. And who do you trust now? So there's a lack of trust at every level. So in our culture on the couch, I was predicting what the world was going to look like if we continued to look at things in a dualistic manner. It's black and white. It's me versus you. It's us versus them. It's the darned immigrants. It's the darned Russians. It's the darned Republican. No, it's the darned Chinese. And so we look at the world in this dualistic way, and it creates anxiety, and it creates arguments, it creates distrust, and it drives us apart, as opposed to the other way of looking at things, which is holistic, to see the things are not opposite each other, that things seem to be opposite only at one level of thinking. At another level of thinking, you can see that what appear to be opposites are simply two important parts of a larger whole. And when you can begin to look at the world in that way, you begin to look for patterns. You begin to look for relationships. You begin to look for wholeness. And when you look in that way, then you start being able to work together with others. You start to have trust. You begin to move to the place where you can really experience love. Let me see. I'd like to share something with you experientially about that in just a moment. Okay, good. So at any rate, so what the world needs now is love. Sweet love. That's the only thing. There's just so little love. That could be a song, couldn't it? How do we love? We have to learn how to let down our guard in order to let another person in order to be able to experience closeness, trust, acceptance, openness, the willingness to share. Those kinds of things mean and how do we let down our guards? We have to turn off our limbic system. There's this little piece of our limbic brain, the monkey brain, the subconscious part of our mind that has been trained to be on edge, that's trained to be nervous. This is a great time. You're locked away. You're getting a chance to meditate and to discover the peace that lies at the center of you, because there's not a lot that you have to do out there in the world. There's stuff to be done, but that can wait. That can wait till this afternoon. So come into peace. Discover who your heart really wants to connect with. Perhaps someone that you're living with. Maybe that relationship needs repair. Maybe you've drifted apart. Maybe you're being irritable with each other and blaming and defending. Well, later on, and probably next week, I'm going to talk about some very specific ways to communicate in order to lower those barriers and connect at a deeper level. Or maybe there's people you need to write to, or to call up, or to video chat with that you want to connect with. And maybe you want to say, wow, I'm really realizing how much I'm missing you. You know, I'm really sorry that we haven't spent more time together, and I'd like to propose that we spend more. Let me tell you some of the things I really liked about you. Remember when we went so and so? There's connections that can be made, but instead, of course, we're thrown into this confusion. We're locked down. We're beset by an invisible enemy economy's collapsing around us. We're losing our jobs. If we're not losing jobs, the people that we get money from in our jobs are losing their jobs. And so nobody knows where it's going. And so we're out of control. And human beings hate to be out of control. And so when you're out of control, you very often have a tendency to become irritable. You tend to become angry and frustrated because you want to take control of things. You start blaming, and all these things are just desperate to hang on and feel like you're controlling at least this conversation, or at least you know that you're right about blaming that person, or blaming yourself. Being guilty is just a way of being in control. But the control is imaginary. You've never been in control. You've never known what was going to happen in 10 minutes. But you lived in this wonderful illusion that you could trust to a certain degree. Okay, and it works out. It's good to be in illusion because you don't want to be thinking about the negatives all the time. All I'm saying is you're not in control now, and it's okay for now. Tomorrow, next week, next month, you need to know something, but you don't need to know it right now. So you can relax and be at peace within. So bringing peace to your own inner mind in your own silence. And then the next step is to be aware of the importance of love. And by love, I mean meaningful connection. Yeah, there's many different kinds of love. There's filial love, and there's erotic love, there's agape. They're all different. One is a brotherly love. One is just a pure love for all humanity. One is sort of a mating kind of love. But they're all love because they all have to do with warmth and connection and oneness with another human being, or another because I guess you can love a dog too, huh? So I want to share with you just a meditation for that.
This is Dr. Miller, reminding you that love is not what you do. Love is what you are. Be yourself, and let's heal our planet together.
For more information about Dr. Miller's work, his upcoming events, new programs, and how you can change your mind and change your life, visit his multimedia website at drmiller.com. That's drmiller.com. This webinar series is funded by your donations. Support their ongoing creation by visiting shop.drmiller.com/donate. That's shop.drmiller.com/donate.
Okay, so find yourself a comfortable place to sit or lie, because I'm going to ask you to take your awareness inside and park your car. Don't try to do this while you're driving. Yeah. And with your body in a comfortable position, I want you to start using your imagination. And I want you to imagine that there's something greater than you. And I want you to imagine there's something greater than us. Imagine there's a kind of spirit that is somehow above us, a higher self. You might call it a higher power or a divine wisdom, universal intelligence. Imagine that there is such a thing, but when we're in touch with that, when we have those moments of connection, and that may be during a sunset or making love or singing songs or whatever it might be, and you really feel that connection, but sometimes we get stuck in the mud of life. And if we could just reach up and touch that stream. So I'm going to ask you to imagine that that stream exists. Have you ever had the feeling that there's something beautiful and wondrous that's going on all around us? The Native Americans called it that spirit that moves through all things. Einstein said, either everything's a miracle or nothing is. There's always music in the garden, but our hearts must be very quiet in order for us to hear it. Bring your awareness into the present moment. Allow your body to relax comfortably. Inform your monkey mind, your deeper mind, your subconscious, that there's no other place you have to go at this moment in time. There's nothing else you have to do. There's no problem that needs to be solved at this moment in time. Therefore, you can give yourself permission to relax deeply. Bring your awareness into this moment right now. This moment. This moment is the only moment that exists. The past doesn't exist. Don't waste your time thinking about it. Not even 1 second of the past can ever exist again. The future doesn't exist and never has existed. Everything that exists right now, right here in the room that you're in, inside your body. Take a deep breath in and let it out. And let each breath out breathe unnecessary tension out of your body. Let each breath in breathe in pure relaxation. Allowing yourself to come into the center of this moment. There may be raging seas going on outside, but you're inside. Nothing that you need to do. Allow yourself to be aware that patience is an action, it's a behavior. Allow yourself to be patient. And let that patience take you to another level. Picture the word relax in the back of your forehead. Let your eyelids relax down to the point they don't want to open. And when you feel that relaxation, test your eyelids and send that relaxation flowing throughout all the rest of your body. Feel it throughout every cell, all the way down to your fingertips, all the way down to the tips of your toes. Very peaceful, very relaxed. Sinking deeply into the surface beneath you. And anytime any unnecessary thoughts come on, when they come along, just erase them. Unnecessary thoughts are questions and doubts and concerns and comparisons and judgments and evaluations that are coming up, triggered by your subconscious mind, by your monkey mind, by your limbic system, because it thinks that you're living out in the jungle. It's not okay to kick back and relax. Yes, it is. Allow that part of you to relax. And each time it brings along or offers to you an unnecessary thought, imagine that unnecessary thought is like words written on a blackboard in your mind's eye. And then as you test your eyelids, draw an eraser across your mental blackboard. Or imagine you can breathe the unnecessary thought out like spent gases. Very peaceful. Now, good. I want you to imagine that you're standing at the top of a spiral staircase. And I'm going to count from 5 down to 0. And as you go down those steps from 5 to 0. You're going to find yourself in your special place, wherever that may be, your mountaintop, your special beach, your private castle or cathedral of green trees, wherever that may be. 5, start down your spiral staircase, each step taking you more and more relaxed as you go down. 4, and as you go down, it begins to get darker and darker, but that's okay, because you're being drawn on by something very pleasant. 3, and it slowly begins to become more and more light, lighter and lighter. 2, as you're beginning to arrive at your special place, far away from anything that could ever disturb you. 1, and as you reach the bottom of your spiral staircase, you step off into your beautiful scene, your special place, your island of peace that you can come to whenever you wish, when you know that you're physically safe. Go within and be at your island of peace. Good. And I want you to allow yourself to recall a time when you felt love. A time when you felt loving and loved. It could be love with a parent or a grandparent or with a child or with a newborn. Some time when you felt it. Some time with a group of people where you felt something magical. Could have been singing in church, could have been at a wedding. Wherever that is that you can go to. It could be with a favorite pet, an animal. Could be something artistic, musical, whatever it might be. Imagine you're there in that special experience. And allow yourself to feel that feeling. I want you to feel that feeling. Imagine you're telling me the story in a very intimate way. You're telling me the story of this special time, and you're telling me how it felt. And as you're telling me, you're closed your eyes and you're picturing it, and you're feeling it, and you feel it in your body, and you feel it in your breathing. Your pulse quickens a little bit. You may feel your heartbeat inside you. That's okay. Maybe you feel yourself filled, overflowing with warmth, a sense of oneness and connection and safety and completeness. It's an emotion. Feel it. And notice where in your body you feel it the most. And breathe into that place in your body. And let that feeling grow stronger and stronger. And as you breathe in it, let it expel itself from that part of your body and flow into every other part of your being. Let it overflow from this center and flow out onto your arms and legs and fingers and toes and neck and your head, out into your ears and your nose, into every part of you, as if your body is radiating love. Imagine there's a river of love that's flowing through you. Feel it flow to those places in your body that need healing. Feel it flow to your immune system and strengthen your immune system. Feel it flow into those places that have felt anger and feel the anger being soothed. Feel the irritation being soothed. Feel those open places of loneliness being filled. Because love can fill you, and you can open to allow that love to flow. Find that inner child that's within you, that little boy or little girl or baby girl or boy. That was you, that still lives inside you. And give that part of you love. Imagine with each breath in that you're breathing in pure white light, that is love. And imagine with each breath out, you're emptying your body and your mind of tension. And another breath in breathes in more love. And now, with your next breath out, you're breathing that love out. As if you are living in a river of love that's flowing through you. With each breath in, you breathe it in. With each breath out, you breathe it out. And imagine that you're breathing it out to everyone else who's in the room with you. Everyone else that's in the house with you. Breathing in love. Because there's an infinite supply of love, you know. The more you breathe in, the more you breathe out. Imagine you're breathing that love into everyone that's in your town or in your city. Imagine you're breathing that love out to everyone on this entire planet. And if you can imagine there are other sentient beings in this universe, you might imagine there's enough love to send a fiber of love out to each of those planets. And they glow too with love. However far your imagination can take you, do it. And it's okay if you can just let it flow within you. That's fine. Feel that river of love flowing through you. Good. And now I want you to imagine that you carry this feeling with you into the future. And I want you to imagine that each person you meet, there will be a sparking of this love within. And you will know that you are a relative, a brother, a sister, a cousin 6 ways removed, a great, 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 great grand aunt, because we all came ultimately from the same mother. And there's a little love in there for everyone. Imagine each person you meet. Invisibly, love flows from this place within you. Maybe it's your heart. That flows out to them as if there's a fiber of love that flows out into their heart. And their heart glows a little bit. And it says, hello. Hello, I love you. Your face may just be a polite smile, but inside, I'm willing to love you. I'm willing to know the oneness that exists between the two of us. Good. When I traveled through Nepal and India, I found a way that people had of saying namaste to each other. Namaste means there's a place in you of light and love and peace and beauty. And there's a place in me of light and love and peace and beauty. And when you go inside and you're in that place in you, and I'm in that place in me, there's only one of us. And namaste is a salute to that place. So maybe you're just checking out groceries in the grocery store and I can't even see your face because you've got this big funny looking mask on, but I can see your eyes. And I'm saying, there's a place in you and a place in me. And when we're in that place, there's only one of us. And I'm acknowledging that place. And I say good morning, and I say thank you. And I say, I appreciate your being here. Your being here is important to me. And it may be someone that I live with. And I might not say anything, but just look at them and just think that. And feel the love. Feel it travel from your eyes to theirs. You don't have to say anything. There will be a time for you to be able to talk. And you'll know when that time is, but feel it. And if that person is irritated or upset, let it wash over you like water off a duck's back. And say, I know that inside you are love. And I want you to feel the love that you are. I want that you be free of the pain you're feeling. And I will certainly do whatever I can to not increase that pain. And I will look for anything that I can do to ease it, even if it's just in my mind. I can hug you in my mind. You can be yelling at me, and I'll hug you in my mind. Gandhi the man was the name of the book by Esrawan, was his name. Esrawan. Gandhi the man. And when I read that book, it was back in the 70s, and I cried from cover to cover because that was what I was really needing to learn. Nonviolence. And that if you lead with love, you tend to get it back. Visualize yourself being love in this way with people. Take some time and repeat this experience on your own. Just practice it. Then when the time comes, if you feel like doing it, turn it on. Just like if you feel like talking, talk. If you don't feel like talking, be quiet. If you feel like giving this silent love, go ahead and do it. And then live for a while in these feelings. Find out what speaks to you of love and cultivate your feeling of love inside. And how can you give love? For me, when I speak, I give love in my words by speaking from that place that says in every sentence, I love you. You are a beautiful person. You have within you everything you need to be extraordinarily happy. And you feel my love. You may not know that's what you're feeling. That's okay. And maybe sometimes you're willing to open up and say, that's love. So that's love. That's how I felt in reading Gandhi. That's love. And then as you begin to find ways to express that love and to seek it and to say to those that you live with, is there a way we could be more loving? How could we start a conversation around that? But lead off by being love first. And then as things, and they will grow more beautiful if you're being love, then you want to say, I wonder if we could take our time together and find out what we share, how we can be closer, how we can enrich each other's lives. So I'm going to offer that to you as your homework. I'll give you some other suggestions in a few moments. You might gradually bring your awareness out so you can tune into the world around you, tune into your computer screen and into my face that will reappear magically in a few moments. But you can stay relaxed and you can stay love and you can sense that you can feel what we're all feeling here together. So thank you all for being here. And let me close with reminding you that the future is not a place that you're going to. The future is a place that you're creating. And you're creating it in your mind, and you're creating it in this moment right now, with every thought, with every action, with every emotion, with every word. So make sure that you're creating the future that you want and that I want. Namaste.
This webinar series is funded by your donations. You can support their ongoing creation by visiting shop.drmiller.com/donate. That's shop.drmiller.com/donate. If you'd like to purchase the programs Dr. Miller suggested in this webinar, or if you'd like to browse his 60-plus guided imagery and meditation recordings, visit shop.drmiller.com. That's shop.drmiller.com. We would love your support in getting these webinars to more people. You can do so by sharing drmiller.com/life meditations with your friends, family, clients, and on social media. We thank you for your support sharing Dr. Miller's teachings.